questions. So the first thing I want to ask you is just to basically like start all the way from the beginning. So just basically tell me about one, how you got into the FGC to begin with. Like what was your motivation to get into the FGC, and why did you choose NRS games like alongside with that?
Well, getting into the FGC was very largely in part due to my brother, Biohazard,
Hmm.
who, like, before Injustice 1 came out, I did not play fighting games, like, at all, and I was, like, really garbage at them. Like, I would try Street Fighter just, like, for fun, and, like, literally all I could do is Hadokens or whatever. Like, that was it. Like, I couldn't do crap. And but I would watch like Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3. I would watch that like on like when Evo came around or whatever. Like it was still enjoyable for me to watch. Like I enjoyed watching fighting game stuff, and that was also due to my brother because he was into it.
Hmm.
But I was never good at it. And then when Injustice 1 came out, that's when I had no intention of playing it, but my brother decided to pick it up and bring it home.
Hmm.
And we're just like, hey, yeah, I got this new fighting game with superheroes in it. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that's cool. I'll try it out. So tried it out. I think the very first character I picked might have been Ares because
Oh my
he
God.
told me, oh, Ares has a projectile that's overhead if you meter burn it, and it's like really good. It just hits people all the time. I'm just like, oh, cool. Like, let me do something cheap. And then I found out Deathstroke was cheap as well. So I was just like playing. I was just trying to find out what the cheap characters were. And at this time, I had literally zero intention of ever like taking the game beyond that, right?
Uh-huh.
Until I basically just played it a little bit more. Found the Flash, who I gravitated towards from like just because I liked the character,
Hmm.
and I would just practice doing combos. And like the fact that I was able to do combos for the very first time in my life in this game made me want to play it more because it's like, oh wow, I can actually play a fighting game for the first time in my life. So that was like one of the reasons why I kept playing it,
Uh-huh.
and like I just really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed playing it, and like I would spend like literally like an hour in training mode just doing Flash's trait combo and just dropping it all the time. My brother would come to me and just like, Tim, just stop, like just play another character, play an easier character. You're not gonna do this. And then I was just like, wait, like I almost got it. And like I would just keep on practicing that crap for like literally hours a day.
Hmm.
I would spend an hour every day like just practicing combos in training mode until I got it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was like that kind of just got me into the scene. As far as like beyond that, I just started by going to local tournaments in the Toronto area
Hmm.
and watched watched a lot of streams with like people like you when you were like at Evo for the first year for Injustice. Like I was just one of the dudes just watching the stream, just like, oh cool, spamming Superman. What a spammer.
What I'm famous for, man. That's what I'm famous
Yeah,
for.
man. Like I was one of those guys in the stream chats, just thinking, man, this guy's such a spammer. He should learn how to play a cooler character. Like I was one of those guys back then.
A
And
cooler
then,
character like Flash.
Yeah, what?
A cooler character like Flash, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't you play a cooler character like Flash? Because like you're just a spammer.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like I just played local stuff in Toronto. Played online a lot for like the first year Injustice was out until I decided to actually go to tournaments in the States for the first time in like 2014,
Mhm.
a year after the game came out, where I got like fifth at East Coast Throwdown in
Mhm.
2014, yeah.
I remember
So
that, yeah.
that's kind of how I just got into the scene. And like ever since I started traveling for tournaments, I just kept on wanting to continue traveling because I just love tournaments. So yeah.
So kind of going off of that, I mean, you've been basically a Flash main for 4 years now. In the first game, in the second game. So, I mean, it's come to a point right now where if someone says Flash in Injustice 2, like the first thing I think of is HoneyBee, since like your name is so attached to that character.
Flash God.
Yeah, exactly, the Flash Godlord. So before your brother Biohazard like brought the game home and said, "Oh, I found this fighting game." Were you a fan of Flash just as a comic book character, or like just as a TV show character? Like, were you a fan of him before Injustice came out?
Oh, definitely. Like I used to watch Justice League all the time when that was on TV and whatever, and Flash was easily my favorite character from that. Although before that, like I was never one to read comic books or anything like that, and I don't know how much like Flash stuff there was back then outside of comic books. So like I just watched the show, and I really liked Flash from the show, and I think that's like the first time I started actually like really liking the Flash,
Right.
and thinking he was really cool. And then like just playing him in the game just built him like up as like my favorite character more and more,
Right.
until it's like it was just like clear to me. It's like, yeah, Flash is my favorite DC character for. So.
And I mean, it shows because you decided to like pick him up in the second game too. So what's kind of interesting is you said that your brother was like trying to convince you to move away from Flash because you said you couldn't like get the combos down in training mode.
Yeah,
So let's just say in an alternate reality he convinced you like to play someone else. Who would you have played in the first Injustice?
Well, I was kind of going around from a few characters like when the game first came out, and one of the characters I was actually doing the best with, I think at that time, was Green Lantern. Because back 1.3, is it? Like I just did that into Lift, and like it would catch people all the time. So like Green Lantern was one of the characters that I was actually doing quite well with, and I was doing decently well with Batgirl as well at that time, just because no one would block the overhead after the reset.
Right.
So I probably would have stuck more towards Batgirl if I didn't like invest my time into Flash. I think.
I mean, I like kind of thinking about it. Like, I think Batgirl would have also suited you as much as a player because one, she has like the mix that Flash does, and two, I can see you making it happen with that character as well. So that it kind of makes sense that you say that. Now, another thing that you mentioned was that like, so mastering Flash's execution and playing him a lot was like your first step in getting into the FGC. And obviously the second step you said was like going to locals a lot in your hometown area.
Right.
So basically, one thing that a lot of people bring up in Injustice 2, like an issue, is that a lot of people aren't going to locals anymore. So maybe part of it is because the locals are far away, maybe online is good. I mean, there's a lot of answers to that. But how did you find out about your locals back in Injustice 1? Like,
well, for the very first local tournament we went to, that was actually, I just Googled Toronto Injustice Tournament. And I saw that one was happening that weekend coming up, and I went to my brother and I'm just like, hey, there's a tournament happening in Toronto downtown. Like, do you want to just go there? Just see how we can do? And he's like, yeah, sure. So like that, it was really that simple for me. But the thing is like, I know not every area has those available, right? Like I was just fortunate enough to just be able to Google something. And I guess like being in Toronto, like there's a lot of people and whatever. And I guess it was much easier to find a local scene. I know in general, it's definitely not that easy to do. But I was also playing online like a lot, even though the online back then, it wasn't even that good, especially in comparison to how it is now. But yeah, like it was really that simple for me. I just Googled Toronto Injustice Tournament, and then I just went.
Right. I mean, and I feel like the online is a huge thing on like why local scenes aren't as prominent anymore. Because I feel like back in Injustice 1, because I can kind of speak as well from a player's perspective, the netcode in Injustice 1 wasn't the best in the world. Like, almost anyone can agree with that. So I feel like you had to go to locals from time to time to get that online timing, like, out of your system before you go to like, big tournaments.
Yeah.
But I feel like because NRS just totally overhauled the netcode, like, near the end of MKX and in the beginning of Injustice 2, I feel like it doesn't incentivize people as much anymore to go to locals because they feel like, okay, the online is great, the input delay is like a lot less obnoxious now, so I feel like I can always stay fresh like my timing can always stay fresh by just going online, and like it doesn't really incentivize me to go to locals anymore.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like that's definitely one of the reasons why I don't go to locals anymore, is because I just know that I can stay at home and train against anyone, right? And the experience I'm going to get, while it's not the same as offline, it's very, very close, you know? So you can play other really great players and just get that experience you need from the comfort of your own home. Whereas like when I was going to these local tournaments, I would literally like be making a day out of it, because like my brother and I, we would travel like an hour and a half or so just to get to the local tournament, and then spend time there and then travel back, right? And that's how it was back then. But like the way it is now, especially for me, it's just like I can get much better like use of my time if I just stay at home and play online.
Right.
So, yeah.
So do you probably feel like because the online is so great, maybe they should just have more online tournaments just to like improve like any kind of viewership issues there may be? Should there be like more online tournaments like War of the Gods? Because it just seems like Injustice 2 is probably going to deviate towards that way. Like if people stop going to locals, then like what's the point of hosting them anymore? So what I'm thinking is maybe there should just be more tournaments like War of the Gods, like just to give more players opportunities, since the online is so great. Like,
yeah, like I think something like War of the Gods was really ideal when it came to the whole online tournament experience. I think War of the Gods did it like basically as good as it could have been, where there's like a good prize in it for the people competing. It was ran really well because of the Smash GG is, and it just like you time out people that don't want to connect and stuff. So like I think the way it was done for War of the Gods is literally like perfect. I don't think it could have been better than that. But like more tournaments, yeah, like it's a good thing. If more people were going to do it, then yeah, that would be great. But I think another thing is just like a lot of us are getting really spoiled right now with the way like pot bonuses are and stuff, and a lot of us don't really want to compete unless there's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just how it's kind of going now. But yeah, like more tournaments is always a good thing, and like I do think like the experience you get from going to a local tournament, it's still like it's still better. Like if you have the opportunity, like to go to a locals tournament, if there's stuff in your area and it's like not too far out of your way or something, like I do still recommend doing that if possible. But online is like good, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, because I mean, like you said earlier, like going to locals equates gas money, venue money, you know, time out of your day, and having it be a weekly thing. That like, if you've already like been exposed to like pop bonuses, and you as a player being good enough to be a benefactor of those pop bonuses, then why not like save your money by just doing online tournaments instead? Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's how it should be. I'm not encouraging there to be like a lack of offline locals, because those are always great. Like, if you have easy access to it, like you said, that's like a better option to prepare you. But I mean, if the online is so great, there's less incentive. But another thing that I wanted to ask you is that a lot of people who know you well know that you work 9 to 5. You have a full-time job. You know, you said on Twitter that you got your own condo, so that's awesome. Congratulations on that. You know,
Thank you.
You have a girlfriend, and like you have so many in real life commitments, yet you're still like such a threat in this game. What advice would you give players who are trying to be at that level but are still like kind of hindered by that 9 to 5 struggle, or those like outside commitment struggles? Like what kind of, I guess, time management advice, or just any kind of advice would you give those players in trying to, you know, make it happen with all those struggles?
Like honestly, it's not easy. It's not easy at all to try to manage the time when you feel like you don't have that much. Because for me, like just to give you something to gauge, like I play Injustice 2, like maybe 1 to 2 hours a day, something like that, which is for like in a week I can play like, let's say 7 to 10 hours, something like that. Whereas some other players, they'll play that much in a day,
right.
you know? So for me, it's like I don't really get the opportunity to explore in the game as much as some other players do. Whereas like, let's say one day I decide I want to learn how to play Black Canary, right? If I decide I want to learn how to play Black Canary, for me, like learning a character is a pretty long process. Like I have to learn all of their moves. I have to learn how to do combos. I have to learn how to like approach matchups and neutral. And like I could easily spend like 7 to 10 hours just learning a character and feeling comfortable enough with them to play. Whereas some other people, they can just do that in a day, figure out if that character is good for them or not, and then move on.
Right.
So like for me, I try to use my time more so just to focus on like stuff like matchups, because I know the character that I want to play, which is Flash,
right.
and like I know like a backup that I have to approach like bad matchups, and that's what I mainly focus my time on, is just how can I play better with Flash, what kind of stuff are in matchups that I'm not like exploring as much or whatever, and how can I improve my ults to approach that matchup as well. But I don't spend as much time like trying out other characters or stuff like that. I really just focus on what I know and how to improve like just with my character.
Right.
And that's basically what it comes down to, is like you have to just use your time for like you have to use your time like wisely, you know, and like try to set up like I talk to people on Twitter, and I ask them like, can you play me like at this time, because that's the time I'm available, so I can learn this matchup. So
yeah, I mean,
that's basically.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, because it goes into the case of efficient training versus a lot of training, like quality versus quantity, because it's like
exactly.
like you said, if you only practice for 1 to 2 hours a day, like you have, as you said, you have to be really, really smart about that time. Like if you have 2 hours in a day and you use like, let's say, an hour and a half on it, just like playing ranked matches with like your alt character, and only like 30 minutes of it to actually focus on like your tough matchups or to focus on something that matters in a tournament, versus using that whole 2 hours to like focus on what matters like in competitive play, then yeah, like if you have those 2 hours, you're not really gonna level up that much. So,
like there's a reason I still haven't beaten story mode. Like I haven't beaten story mode yet, because I don't feel like it's an efficient use of my time right now. So
yeah,
I still haven't beaten. I don't have Brainiac, although it would probably be good to unlock him, but you know what I mean. So
yeah, just like nuke $2 or something on PSN just to figure out.
Yeah. I just don't feel like it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean I feel like that's like a lot of players who want to get into the scene, but you know, have like the time constraints that you do. I think the most important thing is that they should know how to use training mode wisely, because I feel like that's like half the battle. If you know how to use training mode, if you know how to study frame data and situations effectively, like you are on the right track to being like
for sure
a top 16 finalist for IPS. Now that being said, like I assume that the 1 to 2 hours you say you have, that's like on a work day. What about on the weekends? Do you like try to find more time on the weekends to play, or do you still have commitments around that time too?
That's the thing, is like for me, I'm busy like all the time, and like even on weekends, like there's either commitments with like my family sometimes that I have to do, or with my girlfriend's family where we'll have plans to do stuff, and sometimes like I want to spend the weekends like actually still like enjoying time with my girlfriend and stuff,
right.
And so that's why like I don't really do like long gaming sessions. Like I rarely play for like more than 2 hours straight, you know, something like that. Like I don't really have long gaming sessions, and like also on weekends, like I'm also doing additional training for my work,
right,
which requires me to do studying and stuff. So there's that as well that I've been doing for a little while now for that. So I don't weekends, like there definitely is more time on the weekends, that's for sure. Yeah. But it's not like on a weekend I have 10 hours to just blow on the game and I can just go ham. It's not really like that.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. It's definitely tough to be at the level you are with those kind of constraints. Because the thing is, since I worked a 9 to 5 a lot too, like back when I was training, the thing is, like, when you say 9 to 5, it doesn't necessarily mean like once the clock strikes 5, you're just at home, like on your
Oh,
mom.
definitely.
There's driving back home, having dinner, doing dishes, doing the laundry. Like, oh,
Yep.
you have to hang out with your friend this day. So like that nine to
Yep.
five thing, like you always have to take with a grain of salt.
For sure, for sure. Like for me, if I end work at 5, like I'm not home until 6. Like I spend an hour in traffic just getting home. I gotta get home. I gotta eat. I gotta, well, yeah, wash dishes, spend some time with my girlfriend, do some studying for my work, then try to find a little bit of time to play, and then spend some more time with my girlfriend. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely a lot of time management for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the nine, like when we say 9 to 5, that's like a rough guesstimate on when you can play the game. But I mean, that being said, like you had those challenges, but then like you're here. You made it to the IPS finals. You made it to E League. Like you were a huge benefactor in like the tournaments that you went to. Obviously, second at Evo. You got top 8 at Summer Jam. So you were a winner. Like as far as like profit goes from like FGC esports, you were definitely a winner.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
so that being said, like what were some aspects that you loved about the Injustice Pro series, and what were some aspects that you feel like could be improved for a season 2? Like you can start with the pros, then get to the cons, like however you want to do it.
Sure. Like as far as pros for the pro series, I love the way they've been focusing on offline tournaments and having players gain points through offline tournaments because as we said before, even though online is great, it's still not the same as offline.
Yeah.
So I am happy that offline is very like mandatory for it.
Mhm.
Although I'll get into the cons later, I guess. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah, offline is definitely a step in the right direction. I believe. I think the prize pots, like obviously it's great, right? Like it's literally double what they were giving for Mortal Kombat X. They're giving $20,000 pot bonuses left and right for this thing, which is pretty insane, if you ask me. So like that was obviously amazing, and I like the way the points were given out. I think it was fair. I like the way Evo was given out because I got so high in it. But like I think the way they did that was really good. Like the money was great. The need to go offline was great. I think it's really cool that they made it so that NRS, Twitch streams all their stuff and whatever, and like they have like commentators that are regular, like Ketchup and Mustard and Katana Prime and Arma and them. So I think that was all really great. In terms of like, I do think, however, I don't like how condensed the first season was. I think it really should have been dragged out a bit because it didn't cater to people like me, like at all. The people that have like 9 to 5s and like work commitments and stuff like that. People like me, like it was almost impossible to qualify for IPS if you were in a situation like mine where you had like I literally went to Evo saying if I don't get top 3, I'm not making IPS finals. Like it's just not happening. So that's just the reality of it. So like it kind of sucked because for people like me where I can't just go to whatever I want, like I have a job, right? Like it made it very difficult, and you basically needed a top 3 at Evo or a premier win to have a chance at qualifying. Otherwise, you needed to go to like basically everything that was available for points, which is what I'm pretty sure like the 15 other people that qualified did, right? They went to a lot of different tournaments and qualified that way. So.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, back in Injustice 1, a lot of the tournaments were like pretty spread out. Like UFGT was spread out from CEO. Final round was set like spread out from UFGT. So like let's say like you would go to final round and get bodied by like Hawk Girl and like Batgirl, two characters you don't see that much in tournament. Like you on average had like a 1 to 2 month span to like study and break those characters down for like the next major. So you had a lot of time to level up.
Right.
But the thing is, like, with the way the Pro Series was set out for IPS, for Injustice 2, like, if you got bodied by, like, a weird character, like, as soon as you got back home, on average, you just had, like, 5 days to, like, figure out what went wrong for the next major. And,
for sure.
And, like, obviously, like, time is of the essence, because it's, like, that leveling up equates to whether you're going to make it to the IPS finals or not. So I definitely agree with you that, like, for like a season 2, they definitely should spread out the tournaments more, because I mean, you just have so little time to level up. You like, and it's just so much like fatigue, just like constantly like going to and from tournaments, or like constantly traveling so often. Like obviously, like to a lot of people, it's an awesome opportunity to travel and explore the world. Like yeah, that's true. But at the same time, it's like it's still tiring when you do it so often. Like there's kind of like a gray area in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know some people, especially in the month of August, would had tournaments like basically every weekend, and yeah, it does get tiring having to travel that frequently with no real downtime. But yeah, the thing is, a lot of those tournaments, I feel like they would have happened whether or not they were supported by NRS. It's just the fact that since they were part of the IPS pro circuit, like people felt like they had to go, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
That's basically it. Like a lot of these tournaments, they'd happen regardless, but because it's part of IPS, it's like it basically forces people to go out, right? So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like more it's weird because like more tournaments, it's like it's not a bad thing like for a lot of tournaments to happen, but at the same time, yeah, you do want time between tournaments so that people can attend. But
yeah, definitely. And the thing is, like, a lot of your kind of guaranteed spot for the IPS finals was from getting second place at EVO. That was huge. Now, obviously, you got top 8 as well at Summer Jam, so that secured your spot even more. But like your case was definitely like it was an anomaly. It was a really uncommon case of you getting so high at one tournament that it locked you in. Whereas in like for some other players, if they don't have like a good enough sponsor to get them out to all these events, like they had little to no chance of like qualifying for the big money. Like that's also, in my opinion, like one of the tough parts about the tournaments being so close together. That like if you notice like the top 16 finalists, like besides Madsen, who was unsponsored, like a lot of them had great sponsors to get them out to all these tournaments.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It definitely is like a financial thing, right? Like tournaments aren't cheap. Like you got to pay flight and hotel and registration and whatever. Sometimes you're taking off time off work, which in itself is you losing money because you're not working.
In your case,
it is like a financial commitment there, right? Where you have to have that money available to you. And yeah, if there's 3 tournaments in 1 month, like that shit adds up for sure.
Yeah.
So, having a sponsor is definitely is a lifesaver for a lot of people that are able to make all those tournaments. So.
In your case, the tournaments that you weren't able to make, I assume you couldn't get the time off work?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like when Combo Breaker happened like a week after the game came out, right? A big reason why I wasn't gonna be able to make that is because pools started on Friday and top 8 ends Sunday night. So like I'd have to take off like the Friday and the Monday, which is it's not really doable for me. And actually, like, I don't know how many people know this, but like a big reason why I was even able to go to EVO, while it, like, don't get me wrong, like EVO top 8 was on Saturday, which for the most part is it was not good. Like obviously we wanted a Sunday spot, But the fact that it was on Saturday was one of the main reasons why I was even able to go. Because if it was on Sunday, I would have been in a similar situation where I would have had to get the Monday off, and like my work does not really let me get the Mondays off. So I possibly would have missed Evo if top 8 was on Sunday.
Yeah.
So random fact, but yeah, I kind of just lucked out. Like all the stars aligned for me for that. So yeah.
So it's like not only are you an anomaly for like getting second place at Evo and that giving you so much points, but you're an anomaly in that Saturday Evo was good for you, even though everyone else disagreed with it. Pretty much. Like that's actually like how it went. So it's kind of weird, but yeah. I remember that Evo where it's like a lot of the, like, you versus Gross was streamed obviously, but a lot of the matches to get into top 8 was not streamed. And, like, the people who got into top 8, like, from winners and losers, like, I remember the TOs just automatically pulled them aside and said, all right, go run up, like, half a mile to that stage. You're about to play top 8 in, like, 5 minutes.
I know. Like, they legitimately started top 8 before the top 8 was decided. It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, they were... I think it was, I don't remember who told me, but they said, like, you know how they show, like, the tournament brackets for, like, the crowd to see, like, who's playing who? I remember they said that they moved the tournament bracket like lower, like they cropped apart out because they didn't know like who was going to make top 8 between like Gross or Illusions or something.
Yeah.
And I think like while you or Sonic were playing, like you could see Gross like from far away, just like running to the stage, like.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's pretty ridiculous, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I don't really want to go too far into detail on like Evo and NRS games, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, yeah, man. Now that being said, like, I'm sure a lot of us know that like, Madsen recently had to retire from fighting games because it was just so difficult for him to go to all these tournaments like without a sponsor, because like he's in Germany, and most of the big Injustice tournaments are in the United States. And it kind of goes back to that point where if you're an unsponsored player with like that condensed of a schedule, like it's almost impossible to be a benefactor in like the Injustice Pro Series. Now you obviously got a huge sponsorship opportunity with Beast Coast in the midst of the Injustice Pro Series. So what advice would you give to a lot of unsponsored players in like getting their name out there, whether it's like through the game, it's through personality, it's through social media, because you know you have a huge YouTube following and a huge Twitter following? So yeah, like what advice would you give people?
Well, this isn't so much advice, but I feel like one of the things is obviously you need to be a very, very good player, right? Like you have to be capable of making those top 8s for a sponsor to want to even bother looking at you, right? So I don't want to be mean or anything, but like if you're not making those, like your chances are basically not there to get a sponsor. But like if you are capable of making those top 8s and everything, like it is very important, I think, like to embrace social media, because social media is huge. Like sponsors want people that they know have a big following, people that can, you know, tweet about them, everyone grows together type of thing, you know? And like, I think in regards to Madsen, like one of the things that was holding him back was just his lack of wanting to embrace social media. Like if you looked at his Twitter, like he was following 2 people on Twitter. Like he doesn't follow people on Twitter. He would rarely tweet. And when we had opportunities to be on camera with stuff like Machinima's chasing the cup or whatever, like sometimes he just doesn't want to be interviewed, you know? So you have to take those opportunities and make the most out of them, right? Like if you have that chance to be interviewed, you should take that chance to be interviewed. If you should have a Twitter and like follow people, like sponsors that you want to contact you and stuff like that, you know? And for me, like, yeah, YouTube, it was something that I just kind of put videos on there, just like, I don't even know why I started. I just kind of started, and then it just kind of got more and more attention, and I just liked uploading my videos and having people watch them. So I just continued doing it, and then it just ended up having like a lot of people watch it. But yeah, like different avenues of social media is huge when it comes to sponsor. And yeah, it's like, and if you have like a personality or whatever, like for example, Katana Prime, right? Like he's a huge community figure where like he's sponsored by Panda. And even though like I don't want to like make it sound bad or anything, but he's not making top 8s, right? But he's like an amazing commentator and he's an amazing personality and he's like super engaged in the community, and it makes a sponsor want to pick him up, right? So like that's also like a big thing. Like if you have the personality, like that's definitely there to be able to make someone pick you up. And like I see someone in the chat saying Slayer is a personality, and I definitely agree. Like Slayer is also one of those guys where I think he has a great personality for a sponsor. Like he's like outgoing and whatever, and like I know he started doing his old vlogging thing, and like he's building up his YouTube and everything, and I think that's great because like vlogging is like one of those things where I feel like people that don't really attend tournaments I think they would be interested in seeing how it is, you know, like from a pro player's like point of view and everything. So like shout outs to Slayer because I think he's definitely doing something good there, and I think he should be keeping up those vlogs and stuff. And yeah, so like that's basically my advice, I think.
Yeah,
for that.
Definitely, because I feel like having a great personality and being a good player, it has to coexist with each other. And the only way for it not to coexist is if you're like an extreme in one of the areas. Like just to give kind of a tangible example, like someone like Samij. Samij is a very nice guy, but he's very quiet. Like if you look at his Twitter, like he basically tweets once every century. Like the last time he tweeted, probably like Clinton was president. But the thing is, like, he's such an extreme where he's so godlike at the game, where it kind of overcompensates the aspect where he's so quiet on social media and he's so quiet, like, when it comes to interviews or just, like, bringing his personality out there.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Like, that's a really great example because, yeah, Samij, he's one of those players where, like, he's amazing, right? Like, any sponsor would be very lucky to have him on their team. But yeah, he does. I feel like he is one of those players that he actually really should embrace social media a lot more. And if he would, I think I don't know if he's being contacted by other sponsors or anything like that, but I think a lot of more people would certainly be interested in him if he had a bigger presence on social media for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great example. Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable how, like, some people don't like being on camera or don't like doing interviews, but at the end of the day, like, if you want to reach that level of having, like, so many sponsorship offers, like, you have to embrace it. Whether you like it or not, like, you have to present yourself to it. Because if you don't like it, like, so many doors are just going to close right in front of your face. So many opportunities are just going to close, like, you know, right in front of your face.
Yep, I agree 100%. Like, the only player that could be, like, sponsored by top dudes and not have any social media presence would be Sonic Fox, in my opinion. Like, he's, like, the only guy that sponsor, like, a big name sponsor is going to look at, even if he didn't have a Twitter or anything, right? But, like, a lot of other players, like, yeah, social media presence is definitely important.
It's kind of like in a way, it's kind of like job hunting, where it's like, if you just sit at home all day and just think to yourself, why don't I have a job? Why don't I have a job? Where it's like, are you going online? Are you sending out applications? Are you sending out resumes? It's the same thing like in this. Like, even if you're good at the game, you can't just sit at home all day and say, why is no one picking me up? I got top 8 at so-and-so.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like you still have to take the initiative to try to contact others, like sponsors, right? Like, you can't expect all sponsors to come to you. Like, sometimes you have to go to them, or like, obviously if you have connections with players and whatever, that's great too. But you can't always expect sponsors just to approach you. Like, it is sometimes necessary to go out there and send big sponsors or whatever, any sponsor, like some kind of message saying like, hey, I'm HoneyBee, I just got second at Evo, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you interested in picking up an Injustice 2 player, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Just show Flash's placement on the tier list.
So, you know.
I mean, now that I kind of brought that up, like this is a question that I feel like a lot of people have always wanted to ask you. So, I mean, you've made your feelings towards Flash very, very clear on social media. But like there seems to be like this division, like this disconnect. Like when you ask a lot of other top players how they feel about Flash, they'll say he's top 10, he's top 5, 60% resets. Look at his mix.
Right? Are people actually saying top 5 though? Like, can you actually tell me someone that says he's top 5?
Do you want me to like name drop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, is there someone out there that's a top player that says he's a top 5 character?
Okay. So I feel like I have to name drop. So I remember Hayate once at, I think it was Summer Jam, I could be wrong. He once said something about Flash and top 5 being in the same sentence. I don't know if he thinks that now.
Maybe he probably said Flash is not top 5.
Okay, but even if he didn't say top 5, you would agree that there's still a lot of people out there that have him like as a lock for the top 10. Like there's a lot of people who say that. So what I want to ask is, why is there like this disconnect between your feelings about him on the tier list and other top players' feelings about him on the tier list? Like, why don't those opinions like necessarily match?
Well, I do think a lot of them definitely don't see. They are like, okay. The thing about Flash is, on paper and in training mode, he's broken. You know, like you go in training mode and you're like, holy shit, look at these amazing resets that I'm doing right now. Look at this crazy damage I'm doing right now. But you don't, in training mode, you don't have to work to get in on your opponent. Like, your opponent just standing there. It's not that simple when it comes to an actual match. Mm-hmm. And I also think, like, people, they look at that. They look at, he has a 50-50 and he has big damage, therefore he's broken.
Yeah.
And he's top 10. But the way I see it, like, I see it more so based on matchups, and I look at it like, well, he has this many winning, this many losing. Like, how is he top 10? And, like, I also look at the other characters, and I'm just like, okay, well, how many characters can I realistically say are better or worse than Flash, and how many of them are debatable? Like, I don't know if you want me to list these characters right now, but, like, I can look at a list of characters and say, like, these characters are all better than Flash. And most people that know anything would probably agree with me. So, I don't know.
Let's play that game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull up a list on my side of characters that a lot of people think are high-tiered. And I will tell you, is this character better than Flash? And you can just give me a yes or no answer. So until we get to, like, 10. So I'm just curious. Okay, so, is Supergirl better than Flash?
Yes.
Okay. Is Red Hood better than Flash?
Yes.
Is Black Canary better than Flash?
Probably not, but it's debatable if you think about the way Sonic Fox plays her, but I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
no.
That's fine. Is Brainiac better than Flash?
I think so.
Okay.
But see, that's the thing. Brainiac is one of those characters where I can see people would say he's not, and I'm here saying he is. So, like, I don't see Brainiac as a character that, like, the majority would agree is better than Flash. Like, but I think Brainiac's better than Flash. Anyways.
I mean, we can keep, like, the controversial picks out for now. I'm trying to look at, like, what you would think are the undisputable ones. So we're at 2 so far. Is Batman better than Flash?
Oh, definitely.
Superman?
Yeah.
Okay. Is Deadshot better than Flash?
Oh, definitely.
Starfire?
Probably not.
Green Arrow?
I think so.
Catwoman?
Yes, definitely.
So we're at 7. Black Adam?
Definitely.
Okay. Dr. Fate?
I think so.
That's 9. Darkseid?
I think so.
Okay. So that's 10 characters. So that automatically put Flash outside the top 10. Now, I did want to ask you just a quick question about Darkseid. So I feel like Darkseid's archetype is similar to the Flash's in the sense that like if he mixes you, like they're both mixed characters, but Darkseid, unless he has trade out, his mix up is unsafe. So what do you feel Darkseid has an edge like on Flash that you feel like he's a better character when their game plan is sort of similar-ish?
I don't think Darkseid is like the best character to use as an example right now, just because like he's one of those characters where like I think he's probably better than Flash, but I would be more open to debate on that because I don't know as much about the character. But like when I think about it, is like I saw Sonic Fox using Darkseid and stomping people. I saw Nyx using Darkseid and stomping people and winning hometown heroes.
Right.
I think the character's really good, but like I wouldn't use that as like the best example. When it comes to that, like you can bring up Catwoman and I can easily tell you why Catwoman is better than Flash. But yeah,
I mean, even me, like I'm like even though I'm posing as a host rather than a player, like I still think Catwoman's like better than Flash. I feel like a lot of people would agree that Catwoman's better than Flash. I mean, that back three, that low profiling.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean that being said, obviously I don't want to go into like what are Flash's holes and gaps because, you know, out of respect for E-League and all that stuff, I'd rather not just get into that. But one thing that I wanted to do was, so I have a list of players from the previous Injustice Pro series. Would you be willing to say, if I give you a name of players, if you feel like you're better than them or not?
If I'm better than them?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Are you better than your brother?
See, that's actually an interesting question because I think when it comes to a tournament, I would definitely say my brother has a better chance of doing well than me. And that's large in part due to he's super smart when it comes to knowing not to play a bad matchup. Like I think he's playing like 4 different characters right now where he's never going to have to come across a bad matchup if he doesn't want to. Like he can easily counter anyone in the game at this point. So I definitely think he has a better chance of doing better than me.
Right.
So like I did make a list. Like I did put a list on Twitter, so I'm gonna go by that list anyway. So whatever you ask me, it's gonna be based on that list. So
that being said,
I'll say it's better than me for now.
So, but that list that you posted on Twitter, was that list based on who has a better resume than you, or who you think is better in terms of skill than you?
It was based on who I expect to like do well, basically in tournament, like who I would think is most likely to be in the top spots or something like more so along those lines.
I see, because I feel like there's 2 ways you can categorize who's better than you. You can categorize who's better in terms of resume and who do you think is better in terms of raw skill, because I feel like those can be separated into 2 different categories. That's
true. I usually go based on resume though. Like I'm more so based on results over anything.
I see.
And then I think if you still look at, for example, between my brother and I on results, I think it's debatable. Like he won versus fighting. That was really big.
Yeah.
I got second at Evo. That's really big. I think second at Evo was a bigger accomplishment than winning versus fighting, but that's just me. And but then he also got second at East Coast Throwdown, which was huge. He also got 4th at Absolute Battle, which was really good. I think he got 5th at Combo Breaker. So like he has like a lot of really good placements, but the thing is like it's a little bit harder for me to compare sometimes based on placements just because I haven't gone to as many tournaments. But yeah, I think placement wise it's pretty comparable. And then I made top 8 at IPS finals and he was just outside it. So then there's that too. So yeah, it's debatable.
I see. I feel like as soon as we end this podcast, you might just blow up your phone like in the text messages, like, "What did you say about me? Excuse me." Okay, I'll run through some names real quickly, and if it's based on your list, that's fine. So Let's see. How about Dragon?
Yeah. But if Flash was top tier, then no.
All right. Okay.
And that's my like, I honestly think if Flash had no losing matchups, I would be better than everyone except for Sonic Boy.
And that's fine.
Like, I don't think I would be losing to, like, a lot of these people if I was playing, like, a 5-5 or a winning matchup.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, because basically, like, when I have this conversation with myself, I say the best way to find out if you're truly better than a player is if you fight them in a 5-5, who would prevail against you? Like, so it's interesting that you make that analogy. But just kind of coasting down to some more. White Boy?
Well, like, he's one of those guys, actually, where he won CEO, which is huge, right? Like, that was really good. But then he kind of flopped at EVO.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also did really well at some other tournaments. So it's like, he's one of those guys where I think it's debatable. It's neck and neck. But then when it comes down to IPS finals, like, did he go 0-2?
I remember he lost to your brother. I just can't remember how early that was in the tournament.
He lost to my brother in losers.
Yeah, he lost to your brother in losers. I just can't remember how early that was in the tournament. So
yeah, he went. Yeah. I don't know. I would put myself above White Boy personally.
Okay, so a couple more names here. Samij?
No.
Tekken Master?
Yes.
Foxy?
Yes.
Slayer?
Yes.
So when you say yes, you mean you're better? Just
yes.
Okay. Forever King?
Yes.
Illusions?
Illusions. Like, dude, like, I feel like, okay, I know we're gonna get to this later, but, like, Illusions is one of those players where, like, I think he's better than his results have been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I expect him to get higher than he's been getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, results-wise, I definitely think I'm better.
Okay.
But I think Illusions is, like, really, really good, and I feel like he should be getting better results than he's been getting.
Mm-hmm.
But I would put myself above Illusions based on results, anyways.
Okay. I mean, hey man, it's your opinion. I'm just here as the host, so. Madsen.
Yeah.
Dr. Gross.
Like, okay, you're probably gonna get around to Hayate, but I was thinking to myself before that, like, between me, Hayate, and Gross, like, I feel like our results are very, they're very close. You know, like, they're very comparable between us. But I think based on results, like, I think Hayate and I have better results than Gross, so I would put myself above Gross.
And then you and Hayate means, like, you're neck and neck, or who do you feel?
Yeah, like, so I don't know. It's like, if I think about results, Hayate, for example, he got 5th at EVO, right? And he got 3rd at IPS finals. Yeah. Where I got 2nd at EVO and 7th at IPS finals.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty comparable to me. And then, like, outside of those tournaments, Hayate didn't like. I think he went to was it 3 tournaments in a row where he got 9th? Like, I think he got 9th at Summer Jam, Absolute Battle, and East Coast Throwdown. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think so. Like, I think our results are very close. And side note, I do really like the fact that he's done all of his accomplishments with Robin, and, like, I'm pretty sure just Robin. I don't know if he's used any other characters in tournament. The fact that he's done that with Robin, like, I give a lot of respect to. Like, coming from me, you know, like, it's a hard life, like, using one character. So
yeah,
especially when they're not top tier. So, like, I give a lot of respect to Hayate. I think the community thinks Robin as a character is worse than he is. Like, I think Robin's still a good character. Obviously, he's not top, but I think Robin's still a good character. But I give a lot of props to Hayate for, like, what he's been able to accomplish with him. But if we talk like accomplishments and results wise, I think our results are very comparable.
Mhm.
But if we talk money, he's obviously won more money than me because IPS finals, he won 20 grand. So there's that.
That makes sense.
I think we're debatable.
That makes sense.
Toss up.
But anyway, so just kind of like getting close to kind of wrapping it up. I just have one more question for you, and then you can just pick like one or two stream questions to answer. My last question from my end that I wanted to ask you is, who are some like underrated players that you wanted to give a shout out to that you feel like deserve much more exposure?
Definitely, like, okay, there's two players at the very top of my list for this,
Mhm.
and I could be either or, but the first one I'm going to name is Nubcakes,
Mhm.
who I think is phenomenal. Like, his Batman, dude, I was playing him a lot before Evo,
Mhm.
because I had Forever King in my path. I'm just like, hey, like, I need Batman experience. Like, I need to play you.
Mhm.
And Nubcakes was straight body me. Like, he was so, and like the thing is, when he's beating me, I never felt like, oh, like he's just getting away with shit or something like that. Like, he would like straight up like just play fucking solid. So I was super impressed with Nubcakes, and I was saying, like, I saw Nubcakes was in Samish's path.
Mhm.
I'm just like, I think Nubcakes is going to beat Samish. Like, I legit think he's going to beat Samish, and he did
Yeah.
at Evo. So, like, huge shout outs to Nubcakes, because I think Nubcakes is an amazing player, and I think if he went, I think if he very much was in my position where he wasn't able to go to a lot of these tournaments, and if he just had a better luck, I guess, at Evo, I think he got 9th. If he had better luck at Evo, like, he could have been one of the people in the IPS finals, and if he went to more tournaments, he would have been able to get into IPS finals for sure. I think, like, if he attended as many tournaments as a lot of other people attended, I think he definitely would have made IPS finals. But he ended up qualifying for E-League through Hometown Heroes, so we're gonna see him anyways at E-League, which is super good for him. Like, he has a lot of respect for me for sure. Another person I was gonna say is definitely Gunshow,
Oh yeah.
who. The thing is like, I don't think either Nubcakes or Gunshow, they're not underrated players. They're just lesser known players, you know, because other top players, they know, at least I think they know, that Nubcakes and Gunshow are both really good players, right?
Mhm.
It's just like more of the casual audience, the people that just tune into streams, like, they don't have any real way of knowing
Mhm.
who these guys are. But Gunshow, like, his Firestorm is unlike any Firestorm you're gonna play, pretty much. And I don't know if he uses other characters besides Firestorm, but he's always been like an amazing player. So I definitely think if Gunshow went to more tournaments, he would be doing really well. Another player, oh yeah, so like those are the two like guys that I think definitely deserve a lot of props. But I also think like Beaton is another guy where his Dr. Fate was like it was like it's like you haven't played Dr. Fate until you fight Beaton.
Oh yeah.
Type of, like, his Dr. Fate is really good. So, and like his run at East Coast Throwdown, like, he lost to my brother.
Mhm.
But then he ended up beating Scar, he ended up beating Illusions, he beat Slayer, and then he beat me to make top 8. And like that's really impressive to beat those 4 players back to back, you know? So
That's 1/4
that
of the
was really-
IPS finals.
Pardon me?
That's 1/4 of the IPS finals.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, that was really impressive. Another player like Nyx is another guy where I haven't seen him play that much, so it's a little bit harder for me to know. But like, he won Hometown Heroes, and he's going to be at E-League, and I know like he was doing really well at like Next Level Battle Circuit, and I know he beat White Boy like right after White Boy won CEO,
Yeah.
which was pretty impressive as well. So shout outs to Nyx.
Mm-hmm.
Shout outs to Buffalo, who's been winning like some of those War of the Gods from the previous weeks. Like, he's really a good player who I think like he's really good. It seems like he does better in online tournaments than he does offline. Like, I know he did go to a few. I don't know how many IPS events he went to, but I know he went to at least one of them.
Mhm.
And He doesn't. I don't know if his Sub-Zero just wasn't as good at that point, and maybe he leveled up, or maybe he just isn't as used to playing offline or something like that. But I think he's really good as well.
Definitely.
And those are like some of the main ones. And then I also think Punk deserves a shout out because like he's a Street Fighter god, and like while he hasn't been able to crack the top 8 yet for a major event for IPS finals, he beat Nupcakes at I don't know what tournament it was, but I know he beat Nupcakes.
SCR.
Was it SCR? There you go. So he beat Nupcakes at SCR, and that if you can beat Nupcakes, like yeah, that I was very impressed to hear that he beat Nupcakes, even though I didn't get to see the match. But I think Punk, like I really hope he continues playing our game. I really wish more Capcom players played our game, because like it would be great to see for sure. But I think Punk is a great player too.
Awesome.
So there's my shout outs.
Awesome. That's a good list. That's a really, really good list. So that being said, if you want, you can just pick 1 or 2 questions from the stream just to answer if you would like. So stream, if you guys have any questions for HoneyBee, just please ask it in the chat, and good sir, pick whichever ones you want to answer.
All right. Let me see. Have you ever played a Flash player better than you, HoneyBee? No. I have. I'm the Flash God Lord. Let me see here. Gur says, HoneyBee, what do you think of the meta in the game right now? Like, I don't really even know how to answer that question, because I think more people, lots of people have been really negative about the game, but like because they feel like it's not as fun as like MKX. I don't know if they think there's too much zoning or something, but like I think the game's meta is in a pretty good place right now, where there are different styles of play that you can use in like different character archetypes and whatever, and like I think that's really good. I do think there is like, you know, tweaks that can happen with balance changes and whatever that can make it better and whatever, but like I think the game is in a good place right now. Like I definitely would like to see more variety when it came to like characters and that make the top, but part of that is due to just a lot of the same people just making it in the top, and then they use the characters that they use.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know why Dragon's dying in the chat, but can you pick one reasonable buff for Flash? That's a good question.
Oh God.
One reasonable buff.
I'm gonna hide behind my chair while you say that.
I think honestly, like I've thought about that before, and like I don't think lightning kick should be punishable, because hear me out for a second. Like
I'm listening.
Lightning kick right now is a move that's gone mostly unpunished by most people. Like most people don't punish this thing, and you can with the way that is now in the current meta and whatever, Flash is still where he is, like on the tier list. It's not like he's like this amazing character because he can't get punished for lightning kick. Like the thing is, like he can still get punished, and once people actually start exploiting that more and reacting and punishing, it's just gonna make life harder. Yeah. Like for Flash players. So like I don't think that thing needs to be punishable. Like I don't think it needs to be punishable. So I'll say that. But
I have no dog in this fight.
I could probably answer a lot of these questions in the chat, but I don't know how long I should go for. But
I mean, I slated the interview to be an hour, so it's like it's up to you. I mean, after this, I'm just gonna ask like, do you want to give like any shout outs, and then hey man, that wraps it up.
There's so many questions that are just scrolling through here that like I can't really pick and choose. What is Dragon saying? I counterpicked him. This guy's crazy.
Damn, Dragon.
I'll answer one more question. Let me see here.
Sure. It's your interview, man.
right. This guy says, any tips for back to RMS cancels? Are they 100% important to learn? So for anyone out there that wants to pick up Flash, yeah, RMS pressure is 100% necessary to learn. As far as what to use for, like, I don't even know why I'm holding this pen. As far as like what to use for pressure and stuff, back 2-2 is hugely important, because when you do that, you can get a guaranteed down one check after. Mm-hmm. You need it. If you're not doing it, you're not playing Flash right. And also, like, I think using his overhead cancel, the 4-2 into the RMS cancel, that's also really good to mix in there every now and then. And like back to 2-4-3 RMS cancel, especially in the corner, is super good too. So like those are like the main RMS cancels that you really need to learn. Some people ask me, what about down 1 RMS or down 1-2 RMS? Like that's not a thing. There's no point in ever doing that. And if you ever see a Flash player doing that, it's almost certainly because it's just an input error, mm-hmm. and they didn't want that to begin with. So there you go.
All right, man. Well, since you said that was the last question you answered, the last thing I'll say is there any shout-outs that you want to give before we wrap it up?
Well, yeah, first of all, shout-outs to all the viewers tuning in. Shout-outs to anyone that's going to listen to this after the fact, either on YouTube or iTunes or anything like that. Shout out to you guys for taking an interest in the scene and taking an interest in us, I guess, because it's really cool to show support like that. And shout outs to Beast Coast, obviously, like my sponsor. They've been definitely like a huge, I don't really use this word too often, but they have been a huge blessing to me, you know, like I'm very, very grateful for them. So shout outs to them, and yeah, shout outs to you. Thank you for doing this and for being a host for this. I do look forward to you getting more people on this in the future and to see what that goes to.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. And all right, guys, so that wraps up the very first episode of the Last Podcast of Krypton. So as you guys know, it's every Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be uploaded on my YouTube, and this will be uploaded on HoneyBee's YouTube as well for everyone that wants to watch the show after the fact. So yeah, guys, that basically wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You've all been an amazing audience, and yeah, that wraps it up. See you guys next week.
Thanks.
Of course.